he's like basically it's suggesting here that he's praying for, if he did pray, for a candidate that is as far left as possible. So like he'd love to run up against Bernie again, so that he can label him a socialist. And I find that interesting that that is considered an advantage. Like for all the talk that Americans are against socialism, they've got a lot of socialist programs going on. It's just that, it's kind of like, I don't want socialism, but don't take away my Medicare kind of thing. It's a very odd dynamic that's going on there. And the fact that he thinks that he can use that is quite fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. And I would think that, anyone who goes the opposite of Trump would probably lose. What I would think would make more sense is just a more measured approach from the Democrats, less hysteria about Trump and more positivity about what they might achieve. I think anyone who takes Trump on is headed for trouble because he's such a powerful personality. And if you fight him, the people that don't like him but like what he stands for will back him. And that's the issue.
So just on those candidates then, what is the plan then? Them going out and like being like Bernie in that sense, like, because it's not just Bernie this time. There's quite a few of them that are following that platform. And is it just enough for them to go out and really hammer these ideas out and really believe in it? I would have thought that there has to be an element of this where they are just going to have to whack him back on the head in a debate or something like that to really sort of appear strong, because the whole thing is Trump respects people that do exactly what he does in that respect.
I'm cynical about this, but I believe guys like Bernie Sanders are, quite genuine. However, I believe that the popularity, and this has been demonstrated for a guy like Bernie Sanders, is much more amongst the younger demographic. And what Bernie says appeals to them, appeals to the modern, sort of idea of equality of, opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I don't have any issue with that. But I do think that the tone on the left-hand side is, they're running their little focus groups. They're thinking, how do we activate, a whole generation of voters that will not be just with us for this election, but for all the ones coming forward. And so suddenly that chasm is widening and Trump is adding fuel to that fire. Yeah. So, Trump stands probably for everything that a 20-something, disagrees with. So, and that's what I'm cynical about is the motivation to move politics to this sort of anti-Trump level. And I just think that, a really clever and charismatic person who didn't agree with Trump but focused on, being positive and what could be achieved together would do a lot better than fighting Trump or sprouting policies that are just, polarised or opposed to what he's saying. I'd totally disregard him and take away his power.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me wonder, though, that there's this argument that they could, someone that's a bit more further on the left would make it through a primary, for instance, but they wouldn't do as well in the general election because that person might be able to speak to those young people that you're talking about, but they can't speak to the people who are a bit more down the line and are only worried about bread and butter type issues. Hence the reason why Clinton lost last time, which is that was the argument there.
That's right.
In looking at some of that, so someone like Bernie Sanders or Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren or any of those people might go through that first part, but it's someone like Amy Klobuchar, someone I'm watching actually, because she, even though it's been reported that she's quite tough on her staff, and that's putting it mildly, in terms of her management style, if you actually watch her speak, she seems more like that sort of older school, not older school in the sense, she's still kind of got a modern sensibility to her, but she's a lot more moderate in what she's saying. So instead of
as opposed to anti-Trump opinions.
So she's actually gone out and stated publicly, for instance, that unlike Bernie, who wants some tuition-free college and sort of like free healthcare, she basically has gone out and said, I want as much as possible but there's no way we're going to be able to afford that to be completely free. But we'll figure out ways to make it as easy as possible, which is a lot more of a moderate view of how to do it. So I'm actually going to watch her and see how far she gets, because it would seem that she's, to me, coming across as, you know, she's got the vibe, so to speak, compared to some of the others. Bernie, I've got a lot of time for his ideas and everything, but I just wonder if his time's passed, especially considering there are so many other candidates at the moment that are effectively replicating his position now, whereas he had the lane to himself last time.
His election was the last election, unfortunately, and I think Hillary cruelled him on that. And then didn't make the most of the opportunity. And
I would think that with the same types of ideas coming through a younger candidate, and even maybe perhaps a female candidate, which would probably be a good answer to the Trump presidency at this point, they might be better served going down that route.
I agree, and I wonder, will Hillary make an announcement right towards the very end of the nominations? I wonder.
They should pass legislation against that or something to make sure that doesn't happen.